Engineering Physics Module 4, there are two topics, quantum mechanics and laser. Two topics under Module 4 are quantum mechanics and laser. Quantum mechanics include wave-particle dualism and de Broglie wavelength, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, application of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, significance of wave function, probability density and normalized wave function, Schrodinger's time-independent wave equation, application of Schrodinger's wave equation to a particle in a box, and numerical problems. Laser includes following topics: spontaneous and stimulated processes, Einstein's coefficients, requirements of laser system, conditions for laser action, principle, construction and working of carbon dioxide laser, semiconductor diode laser, and applications of laser in defense and in engineering, and numerical problems. Some of the standard questions from Module 4 I have listed in this slide. Question numbers from 1 to 7 is from quantum mechanics, and question numbers from 8 to 16 is under laser. Wave-particle dualism and de Broglie wavelength. The nature of light is not unique. It exhibits both particle nature and wave nature. De Broglie proposed that electromagnetic waves have wave-particle dual nature and called as de Broglie waves or matter waves. The waves associated with the material particles are called as matter waves. And these matter waves will have the wavelength, that is de Broglie wavelength, lambda is equal to h by v equal to h by mv, where m is mass, v is velocity, p is momentum of the particle, and this momentum p is equal to mv. Relation between de Broglie wavelength and kinetic energy. See, if we consider electron as a particle subjected to a electric potential of v, and say E is the electron charge, then the energy acquired by electron is given by E is equal to EV, and this you can also write it as half mv square, that is equal to p square by 2m. Here capital V is the potential difference you have applied and small v is the velocity. P, therefore you can write it as root of 2 MeV, and this EV we know it is capital E, so this P is equal to root of 2 Me. So the expression for de Broglie wavelength is lambda is equal to h by root of 2 Me. Next, if you consider again electron as a particle, then the de Broglie wavelength of accelerated electron is obtained as follows. The electron is accelerated to a potential difference of V, then it has energy EV, we know this E is electron charge, and according to de Broglie, the de Broglie wavelength lambda is h by p, and this is equal to h by this p is substituted by root of 2 MeV. Now in this equation, h, m and e are constants and the variable is only v. So I can take this v outside the bracket. So 1 by root of v into h by root of 2 me. And if you calculate the value of this constant, so we will be getting like this, that is h Planck's constant 6.626 into 10 to the power minus 34 divided by root of 2m, m is mass of electron 9.11, 10 to the power minus 31 into E, electron charge 1.602 to 10 to the power minus 19. So if you calculate the value of this, so we are getting 1.226 into 10 to the power minus 9 and divided by this root v. So the unit will be directly coming in meters. So you can convert this into nanometer, that is 1.226 by root V nanometer. And we know that 1 nanometer is 10 to the power minus 9 meter. Let me start with the first question in the question bank. State and explain Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Give its physical significance. See, in classical mechanics, every particle is associated with a pair of physical variables. That is, one is position and momentum. This is one pair of variable. You have energy and time, another pair of variable, and angular displacement and angular momentum, another pair of variable. In quantum mechanics, this quantum mechanics is also called as wave mechanics, and it deals with the matter waves. You know what are matter waves? Matter waves are waves which have particle and wave dual nature. One of the fundamental principles of quantum mechanics is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. The statement of this principle is as follows. This Heisenberg's principle states that it is impossible to determine precisely and simultaneously both position and momentum of a particle. If you carry out the simultaneous measurement of pair of variable, so in any simultaneous determination of position and momentum of a particle, the product of the corresponding uncertainties in the measurement is equal to or greater than h by 4 pi. So this statement you can write it in the equation form like this, that is delta x into delta p is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. Here x is the position of the particle, p is the momentum of the particle, whereas delta x is the uncertainty in the position and delta p is the uncertainty in the momentum. So delta represents the corresponding uncertainties in the variable. Similarly, uncertainties involved in the measurement of other physical variables, that is energy and time, and also angular displacement theta and angular momentum L, can be written as follows. If delta E and delta T are uncertainties involved in the determining energy and time respectively, then I can write an equation delta E into delta T greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. Similarly, if delta theta and delta L are uncertainties involved in determining the angular displacement and angular momentum of the particle respectively, then delta theta into delta L is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. As I said, here delta indicates minimum uncertainty involved in the measurement of corresponding variable. Therefore, the Heisenberg uncertainty relations you can write as delta x into delta p greater than or equal to h by 4 pi, delta E into delta T greater than or equal to h by 4 pi, delta theta into delta L is greater than equal to h by 4 pi. And these three relations are very important. Physical significance of the principle. In simultaneous determination of position and momentum of the particle, one should not think of exact or accurate value. Instead, estimation of probability of finding the particle at a certain position or probable value of momentum was made. So therefore, the significance, physical significance of this Heisenberg principle is probability of finding the particle. Again, this is important. Second question is, using Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, show that electron does not exist inside the nucleus. This is about the applications of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Here electron is considered as a particle. Now we know about the structure of atom. In an atom there is nucleus at the center and electrons are revolving around the nucleus. Now by making use of Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, that is by making use of the first Heisenberg's equation delta x into delta px greater than or equal to h by 4 pi, we have to show that the position of electron is always outside the nucleus. Let me start this derivation. We know that the diameter of the nucleus is of the order of 10 to the power minus 14 meter. If you assume that electron is inside the nucleus, then maximum uncertainty in the position of electron will be of the order of the diameter of the nucleus. Means if you assume that electron is inside the nucleus, delta x, that is uncertainty in the position of electron, is always less than or equal to nuclear diameter, that is 10 to the power minus 14 meter. Next, by applying Heisenberg's principle, that is first equation delta x into delta px greater than or equal to h by 4 pi, this delta px is greater than or equal to h by 4 pi into delta x, and this delta x, if you substitute it by 10 to the power minus 14. So if you calculate this, we are getting delta px, that is uncertainty in the momentum, is always greater than or equal to 0.5276 into 10 to the power minus 20 kg meters per second. This is the minimum uncertainty in the momentum of electron. Then the value of the momentum of electron must be least to be equal to uncertainty in the momentum. Means you can consider this momentum of the electron px nearly equal to uncertainty in the momentum delta px, and this you can take it as this value, that is 0.5276 into 10 to the power minus 20 kg meters per second. So here I have considered the momentum nearly equal to uncertainty in the momentum. The energy equation is p square by 2m, where m is mass of electron, that is 9.11 10 to the power minus 31 kg, and momentum of electron is px is 0.5276 into 10 to the power minus 20 kg meters per second. This is what we have calculated earlier. Now we can say that for electron to exist inside the nucleus, the energy of the electron must be such that E must be greater than or equal to p square by 2m. And if you calculate, if you put the values of p and m in this equation, so E is greater than or equal to p square, this value, divided by 2m, that is mass of electron. So if you calculate this, we are getting energy is greater than or equal to 1.372 into 10 to the power minus 11 joule. You can convert this energy to electron volt, from joule to electron volt. So what we do? We divide it by electron charge, 1.602 to 10 to the power minus 19. And this if you calculate, so we are getting 85 mega electron volt. Here capital M is mega and 1 mega is 10 to the power 6. We know that electron can be considered as a beta particle, and beta particles are emitted from the nucleus during beta decay. And the experimental observations from beta decay shows that the kinetic energy of the beta particles is of the order of 3 to 4 mega electron volt. Now if you assume that electron is inside the nucleus, and if you apply the Heisenberg's equation, the energy what we are getting is That is, energy of the electron must be always greater than or equal to 85 mega electron volt. But this value doesn't match with the energy watt of the beta particles, that is 3 to 4 MeV. Hence, we can say that electron does not exist inside the nucleus. What are characteristics of wave function? In quantum mechanics, because of wave-particle duality, the properties of particles can be described by wave. Generally, waves are associated with variable quantities that vary periodically. The variable quantity characterizing matter waves is known as wave function, and it is represented by the symbol psi. This psi wave function is obtained by solving fundamental wave equation, that is called as Schrodinger's wave equation. Next, what are characteristics of wave function? The characteristics of wave function are: it is a variable quantity associated with matter waves, and it is not an observable quantity. Next, wave function is single valued and finite everywhere. Next, wave function and its first order derivatives with respect to its variables are continuous everywhere. For bound states, wave function psi must vanish at infinity, and if wave function psi is a complex function, then psi star psi must vanish at infinity. Here psi is wave function and psi star is complex conjugate of psi. Next, wave function psi must be normalizable. The wave functions which possesses all these above properties are called as eigenfunctions. What is probability density and normalization? Consider a particle with wave function psi and it is present inside the volume tau. Let me consider a particle having wave function psi and it is present inside the volume tau. Now, if tau is the volume in which the particle is present, but the exact position of the particle inside tau is not known. So, let me consider an elemental volume d tau inside tau. Then probability of finding the particle inside d tau is equal to modulus of psi square into d tau, where modulus of psi square, this is probability of finding the particle in unit volume, and it is called as probability density. Now, if psi is a complex wave function, then probability density equal to modulus of psi square, and this you can write it as psi star psi, where psi star is complex conjugate of psi. What is probability density and normalization? Now let us consider a particle with psi is its wave function, and let this particle is present inside the volume tau. I said the particle is present inside tau, but exact position of the particle inside tau is not known. So let me consider an elemental volume d tau inside tau. Then probability of finding the particle inside d tau is equal to modulus of psi square into d tau, where this modulus of psi square, this is the probability of finding the particle in unit volume, and it is called as probability density. Now, if psi is a complex wave function, then probability density is equal to modulus of psi square, and this you can write it as psi star psi, where psi is actually a wave function and psi star is complex conjugate of psi. One of the important characteristics of wave function is the wave function must be normalized. Now, what is normalization and how to carry out the process of normalization? See, the probability of finding the particle having wave function psi in the volume d tau, this can be written as modulus of psi square into d tau. Now, if we are certain or if we are sure that the particle is present in the finite volume tau, then probability of finding the particle, you can write it as, you have to integrate this in the limit 0 to tau, that is integration of 0 to tau modulus of psi square into d tau, this is equal to 1. Now, what do you mean by probability of finding the particle equal to 1? The meaning of 1 means we are sure, we are certain that the particle is definitely present in the volume tau. Now, if we are not certain that the particle is inside the volume tau, but if it exists somewhere in space, then you can write the probability of finding the particle as, you have to integrate in the limit, or you have to extend the limit from minus infinity to plus infinity modulus of psi square into d tau, this is equal to 1. Now, the wave function which satisfies this relation, this equation, it is called as normalized wave function. Now, if the given wave function is not normalized, so what is the process of normalization? This I have explained below. See, generally the probability of finding the particle is 1. Means you can write an equation, integration minus infinity to plus infinity modulus of psi square into d tau, this is equal to 1. So, what is this term? This is probability of finding the particle equal to 1. But in many cases, probability of finding the particle is not equal to 1. But it contains a constant in the equation of wave function. So, actual result is obtained by equating this probability of finding the particle equal to 1, and the value of constant is then determined. And this constant value, it is called as normalization factor, and it is then substituted in the equation for wave function, and this process is called as normalization. And the normalized wave function satisfies the Schrodinger's wave equation. One of the important characteristics of wave function is normalization. The wave function must be normalized, and only a normalized wave function satisfies Schrodinger's wave equation. So, what is normalization? And if the wave function is not normalized, then how to carry out the process of normalization? Now, the probability of finding the particle having wave function psi in the volume d tau, it is given by this equation modulus of psi square into d tau. Now, if we are certain or if we are sure that the particle is present in the finite volume tau, then probability of finding the particle can be written like this. Means you have to integrate this in the limit 0 to tau modulus of psi square into d tau equal to 1. Here probability of finding the particle equal to 1. The meaning is the particle is definitely present in the finite volume tau. Now, if we are not certain that the particle is inside the volume tau, but if it exists somewhere in space, then we have to integrate this limit, or we have to extend the limit to minus infinity to plus infinity, modulus of psi square into d tau equal to 1. And the wave function which satisfies this relation, it is called as normalized wave function. Now generally the probability of finding the particle is 1, means the probability of finding the particle satisfies this equation, integration minus to plus infinity modulus of psi square into d tau equal to 1. But in many cases, probability of finding the particle is not equal to 1. This is not equal to 1. But instead it contains some constant in the equation of wave function. So in such cases, the actual result is obtained by equating the probability of finding the particle to be 1, and then the value of constant is determined. And this constant value is called as the normalization factor. And this normalization factor is then substituted in the equation for wave function. And this process is normalization. How to derive time-independent Schrodinger's wave equation in one dimension? Schrodinger equation is the fundamental wave equation in quantum mechanics, and it is used to determine the wave function for different physical conditions. The standard form of Schrodinger's time-independent wave equation is d square psi by dx square plus 8 pi square m by h square into e minus v into psi equal to 0. We have to derive this equation, and the derivation is given below here. According to de Broglie theory, for a particle of mass m moving with a velocity v, the de Broglie wavelength is given by lambda is equal to h by mv equal to h by p. This you take it as equation number 1. Here p is the momentum of the particle. Now the de Broglie wave equation for a particle traveling in positive x direction can be written in complex form as psi equal to a exponential I into kx minus omega t, and this you take it as equation number 2. Here a is the amplitude of the wave, omega is angular frequency, and this omega is equal to 2 pi f, where f is the frequency, and psi is the wave function, and k is wave number or propagation constant, and this k is equal to 2 pi by lambda. Next, differentiate the equation 2 with respect to t. We get d psi by dt equal to minus of I omega into a exponential I into kx minus omega t. Remember, we are differentiating psi with respect to t. Now again differentiate this equation. So we will be getting d square psi by dt square equal to I minus I omega into again this I minus I omega a exponential I into kx minus omega t. Now this d square psi by dt square we can simplify and write this minus into minus will be plus I square we are getting, then omega square we know minus next differentiate the equation 2 with respect to t. So we get d psi by dt equal to minus of I omega a exponential I into kx minus omega t. Again you differentiate this equation with respect to t. So we are getting d square psi by dt square equal to minus I omega into this same term, that is minus I omega a exponential I into kx minus omega t. So we can write this as minus minus is plus. We have I square omega square, but we know I square is minus 1. So we can simplify and write here d square psi by dt square equal to minus a, this a, and omega square. So here then exponential I into kx minus omega t. So this you can write it as minus of omega square, here omega square, into psi. This psi is because from equation number 2. So we know from equation 2 psi is equal to a exponential I into kx minus omega t. That is what we are substituting here. So finally we are getting d square psi by dt square equal to minus of omega square psi. This you take it as equation number 3. The equation for a travelling wave in differential form we can write like this, that is d square y by dx square is equal to 1 by v square d square y by dt square. Then by analogy, by looking at this equation, travelling wave equation, we can write the de Broglie wave equation like this, that is in place of y you have to change it to psi, that is d square psi by dx square is equal to 1 by v square into d square psi by dt square. This you take it as equation number 4. Now this equation 4 represents the waves propagating along x-axis with velocity v, and x is the displacement at a time t. Substituting equation 3 in 4, so substituting equation 3 in 4, we get d square psi by dx square is equal to minus of omega square by v square into psi. We know that omega is equal to 2 pi nu and v is equal to nu into lambda, where here omega is angular frequency, nu is frequency, v is velocity, and lambda is the wavelength. Now substituting for omega and v in the above equation, we get d square psi by dx square is equal to minus of 4 pi square by lambda square into psi, or 1 by lambda square, just 1 by lambda square, we can write it as minus of 1 by 4 pi square into psi d square psi by dx square. This you take it as equation number 5. So equation 5 represents 1 by lambda square. Next, kinetic energy, we know it is half mv square, that is equal to p square by 2m, where here p is the momentum. We know p is equal to h by lambda, that is from de Broglie wavelength, lambda is equal to h by p. So in place of p, I can write it as h by lambda. So we can write the kinetic energy is equal to h square by 2m lambda square. Take this as equation number 7. Next, using equation 5 in 7. So using this 5 in 7, we are getting the kinetic energy is equal to h square by 2m into minus of 1 by 4 pi square psi into d square psi by dx square. And this is equal to, you can simplify this and finally write it as minus of h square by 8 pi square m into psi d square psi by dx square, and you take this as equation number 8. We know that total energy is equal to kinetic energy plus potential energy. So total energy E is equal to, this is the kinetic energy term, that is equation number 8 plus potential energy V. And this V, if you take it to the left hand side, we are getting E minus V is equal to this kinetic energy term. And d square psi by dx square, this you can write it as minus of 8 pi square m by h square into this E minus V into psi. This is just by simplification of this above equation. And finally, if you take this entire term to the left hand side, so we are getting d square psi by dx square is equal to this becomes plus 8 pi square m by h square into E minus V into psi equal to 0. And this is nothing but time independent Schrodinger's wave equation in one dimension. What are eigenvalues and eigenfunctions? In order to understand eigenvalues and eigenfunctions, first we must know what are quantum mechanical operators. We know mathematical operators such as plus, minus, multiply, divide, integrate, differentiate, take square root, etc. are used to perform operation on a function. Similarly, in quantum mechanics, to extract information from wave function, quantum mechanical operators are used. These quantum mechanical operators, the symbol is, say the general symbol is A is the operator with the cap. These quantum mechanical operators operate on a physical variable such as position, momentum of a particle for its measurement. For example, to get position of a particle, we make use of position operator. To get momentum of the particle, we make use of momentum operator. Similarly, to get energy values of the particle, we have to make use of energy operator. Some of the quantum mechanical operators with the symbol are listed in this table. Let us say the physical variable is a momentum. Then the operator can be written like this. Operator is h by 2 pi I into del by del x. And the symbol of the operator is P is a momentum with the cap. Next, kinetic energy. If kinetic energy is the physical variable, the operator is minus of h square by 8 pi square m into del square by del x square. You might have observed this term in the previous derivation of Schrodinger's wave equation, that is kinetic energy term. And the symbol you can write for kinetic energy is T with the cap. Next, total energy operator. It is also called as Hamiltonian operator. And we can write this operator as we know total energy is kinetic energy plus potential energy. So we have this kinetic energy term here, the same thing, plus the potential energy is U. And the symbol is H or Hamiltonian with cap. Next, position operator. The symbol is X and the operator symbol is X with the cap. Eigenfunction and eigenvalue. Eigenfunctions are those functions which possess the properties that they are single valued, finite everywhere, and also their first order derivatives with respect to their variables are continuous everywhere. Now, this is the statement of eigenfunction. The wave functions are related to the energy E, and the values of energy En for which the Schrodinger's wave equation is solved are called as eigenvalues. So for different values of n is an integer, n is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. we are getting a set of energy values and they are called as eigenvalues. The eigenvalue equation is given by this, that is A is an operator. When operates on a wave function psi, we get a constant lambda, and this psi is called as the eigenfunction. To find the wave function, Schrodinger's wave equation has to be solved. But since the Schrodinger's wave equation is a second order differential equation, it has many numbers of solutions. But all of them may not be the correct solution. In such case, we have to choose only a permitted function. And these permitted functions are eigenfunction. And the corresponding energy values are called eigenvalues or energy eigenvalues. Using Schrodinger's wave equation, derive energy eigenvalue and eigenfunction for a free particle in a box or potential well of finite width and infinite height. This derivation is one of the applications of Schrodinger's time-independent wave equation. Let us consider a free particle of mass m inside the box in a bound state. Consider this diagram. So we have a free particle having wave function psi, and it is free to move along the positive x direction in one dimension between the two rigid walls from x is equal to 0 to x is equal to a. So width of this box is a, whereas height of this box is infinity. Now the particle exists only inside the box. So the potential energy V is equal to 0. The particle does not exist at the boundaries, or the particle does not exist even outside the box. Therefore, at the boundary of the box means at x is equal to 0 and at x is equal to a, and also outside the box the potential energy is infinity. So we have this potential energy V is equal to 0, that is inside the box, and this potential energy is infinity, that is at the boundary, that is at x is equal to 0 and at x is equal to a, and outside the box it is potential energy 0. Now such a configuration of potential in space is called as infinite potential well or particle in a box. Now actually the potential energy inside the box is 0. This is because when the particle collides the walls of the box, there is no any loss of energy. The potential energy of the particle remains constant, and for convenience we have taken it as 0. Schrodinger's equation for a particle is given by d square psi by dx square plus 8 pi square m by h square into E minus V equal to 0. Particle is always inside the box. Therefore, probability of finding the particle at the boundary and outside the boundary of the box is 0. Therefore, wave function is also 0. Now, if you apply the boundary conditions to Schrodinger's wave equation, now outside the box we can write it as d square psi by dx square plus 8 pi square m by h square into E minus V. E minus, in place of V you have to write infinity into psi equal to 0. Here V is infinity because we know outside the box it is infinity. Now this equation holds good only if psi equal to 0. Now if psi is 0, then modulus of psi square is also 0. Now here modulus of psi square is probability density or probability function. So at the boundaries and outside the box the particle does not exist. Next, inside the box, we know inside the box V is 0. So we can write the Schrodinger's wave equation as d square psi by dx square plus 8 pi square m by h square into E into psi equal to 0. Here just I have put in place of V, it is 0. Now therefore this d square psi by dx square, if you take the second term to the right hand side, it will be minus of 8 pi square m by h square into E into psi. Therefore finally we can write minus of h square by 8 pi square m into d square psi by dx square. This is equal to E into psi. Now this equation is energy eigenvalue equation. This is because here in this equation, this minus of h square by 8 pi square m into d square by dx square, this much term is, I have taken it as Hamiltonian operator h cap. Now this can be explained as follows. We know energy eigenvalues are obtained by operating the wave function psi by total energy operator, that is Hamiltonian operator. Now in this energy eigenvalue equation, this H cap is nothing but Hamiltonian operator. Now this Hamiltonian operator, you can write it as, this is total energy operator, which is equal to kinetic energy plus potential energy. So the first is the kinetic energy term and this is second term is the potential energy term. So H cap Hamiltonian operator is equal to minus of H square by 8 pi square m d square by dx square plus v. This is the form of Hamiltonian operator. Now inside the potential well, we know V is equal to 0. So therefore this total energy operator V will be 0. So we can write this H cap Hamiltonian operator is equal to, we have only this kinetic energy term will be remaining, that is minus of H square by 8 pi square m d square by dx square. The Schrodinger's equation for a particle is given by d square psi by dx square plus 8 pi square m by h square into E minus V into psi equal to 0. Now inside the potential well, we know inside the potential well V is equal to 0. So we just put V equal to 0 in this Schrodinger's wave equation. So we will be getting d square psi by dx square plus 8 pi square m by h square into E into psi equal to 0. This is equation number 1. Now in this equation 1, 8 pi square m by h square into m into psi, this term you take it as k square. So I can write 8 pi square m by h square into E equal to k square, and this is equation number 2. Now substituting this equation 2 in 1, so we will be getting d square psi by dx square plus k square into psi equal to 0, and this is equation number 3. Now this equation 3 is a second order homogeneous differential equation, and the general solution for this equation can be written as psi is equal to a sin kx plus b cos kx. This is equation number 4. So equation 4 is the general solution for equation 3. Now in this equation number 4, a and b are constants. Next, applying the boundary condition, that is we know at the boundaries, that is at x is equal to 0 and at x is equal to a, the particle does not exist. Therefore at the boundaries psi is equal to 0, wave function is 0. So if you apply the boundary condition, say at x is equal to 0, we know psi is 0, so you just put this condition in equation 4. So we will be getting 0 is equal to a sin 0 plus b cos 0. Now how we got this equation? You just put psi is equal to 0 and x is equal to 0 in equation 4. So b will becomes 0. Now if b is 0, then equation 4 becomes psi is equal to a sin kx. This you can take it as equation 5. Next, again applying the boundary condition, that is we know at x is equal to a, psi is 0. So we can write 0 is equal to a sin ka. So in this equation 5, we just put psi is equal to 0 and x is equal to a. So we have a sin ka is 0. Now we already got b is 0. One constant is already 0. So if b is 0, a need not be 0 because both constants a and b need not be 0. So if a is not 0, then what is remaining? Sin ka will be equal to 0. So I can write sin ka is 0. Now this is true only when ka will be n pi. We know sin 0 is 0, sin pi is 0, sin 2 pi is 0, sin 3 pi is 0, and so on. So I can write ka is equal to n pi, where n is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And this n is called as the quantum number. So here n is quantum number. So if ka is equal to n pi, k is equal to n pi by a. This you can take it as equation 6. Now if you put this equation 6 in equation 5, so equation 5 becomes psi will be equal to a sin n pi by a into x. Here I have just put in place of k is n pi by a. Now this equation 7 is the permitted solution. See, this equation 7 contains a constant a. Now if the constant a exists in the equation for wave function, means that wave function is not normalized. So therefore we have to go for normalization. So normalization means finding the value of constant a. Now we know that the particle exists inside the potential well. So inside the well, the probability of finding the particle is 1. Now I can write the probability of finding the particle is equal to integration 0 to a modulus of psi square into dx. This is equal to 1. So what is this equation? This is probability of finding the particle, this term, that is equal to 1. Now we can substitute psi from equation 7. So we will be getting integration 0 to a. In place of psi, we have to substitute psi from 7. So here we have psi square. So I can write a square sin square n pi by a into x into dx equal to 1. But we know that sin square theta is equal to half into 1 minus cos 2 theta. Here theta is n pi by a into x. This is theta. So I can write this as this a square is constant, you can take it out, a square into, so here we have sin square of this is half of this term, so I can write half, then integration, you have 1 is there, that is dx, minus the second term, that is again half, integration 0 to a, and cos of 2 theta is n pi by a into x into dx. Just close the bracket, that is equal to 1. Next I can take this a square and this 2 is common outside the bracket. So a square by 2 into, we know integration of dx is x, minus, we know that integration of cos bx into dx is equal to sin bx by b, where b is a constant and b is equal to 2n pi by a. So integration of cos, I can write it in sine form as, so I am getting this integration of cos as sine of this 2n pi by a into x, then divided by, we have that constant b, I said 2n pi by a, so divided by 2n pi by a. So if you take it up, so it will be inverted, we are getting a by 2n pi. So finally I am getting a square by 2 into this x minus a by 2n pi into sine of 2n pi by a into x. This is in the limit 0 to a, this is equal to 1. Now we can take this as split into 2, that is taking the limit, upper limit minus lower limit, so we have a square by 2 into this upper limit is a, so in place of x is a minus this a by 2 n pi, sine of this upper limit is a divided by so we have here a square by 2 into taking the limit, that is upper limit minus lower limit. So in place of x, the upper limit is a, so I have to write it a minus a by 2 n pi, then sine of this 2 n pi, then in place of a I have to write a by a, that will cancel, so we have only 2 n pi minus the lower limit will be 0. So you close the bracket, that is equal to 1. So I can get here a square by a by 2, this is equal to 1. Therefore, this is because sine of 2n pi, that is 0. So the second term will vanish. So finally I am getting a is equal to root of 2 by a. So here a is a constant and we have calculated the value of constant by the process of normalization. The normalized wave function of a particle, therefore in one dimensional potential well, I can write it as, that is psi is equal to root of 2 by a. This a is equal to root of 2 by a. I have to substitute this in equation 7. So I will be getting this psi is equal to root of 2 by a sine of n pi by a into x. And this psi is the normalized wave function. And this equation in general form, I can write it as psi n is equal to root of 2 by a sine of n pi by a into x. So a is equal to root of 2 by a, and this you take it as equation number 8. See, therefore, the final expression for normalized wave function of a particle in one-dimensional potential well is psi n is equal to root of 2 by a sine of n pi by a into x. This you take it as equation number 9. The energy eigenvalues for a particle can be find out as follows. From equation 2, we know that k square is equal to 8 pi square m by h square into E. And from equation 6, we know that k is equal to n pi by a. So k square is equal to n square pi square by a square. See, if you equate these two equations and if you simplify, we are getting E is equal to n square h square by 8 ma square. This is the energy eigenvalue equation for a particle in infinite potential well. And here n is an integer and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And for different values of n, we are getting different energies. Like for n is equal to 1, we are getting E1. This is the energy of the particle in the ground state, called as 0 point energy. For n is equal to 2, we have the energy of the particle is E2, that is in the energy in the first excited state. For n is equal to 3, we have E3, that is energy of the particle in the second excited state, and so on. In equation 9, n is equal to 0 is not acceptable inside the well, because if n is 0 means psi n will be 0, means wave function is 0. This means electron is not present inside the well, which is not true. Therefore, the lowest energy value for n is 1, and it is called as 0 point energy or ground state energy. And the states for which n greater than 1 are called as excited states. So for n is equal to 1, The 0 point energy you can write it as h square by 8 ma square. Here I have taken n is equal to 1. Next, wave functions, probability densities and energy levels for particle in infinite potential well can be obtained as follows. Consider most probable location of the particle in the well and its energies for first three cases, like n is equal to 1, n is 2 and n is 3. Let us start with the first case, n is 1. n is 1 means it is the ground state and the particle is normally present in this state. And the eigenfunction for particle in the ground state is obtained from equation 9, and you can write it as psi 1 equal to root of 2 by a sine of pi by a into x. See the variation of wave function psi 1 versus x and modulus of psi 1 square, that is probability density versus x, are shown in this figure. Here 1 stands for ground state, that is n is equal to 1. Now this psi 1 is equal to 0 for x is equal to 0 and for x is equal to a. That means wave function is 0 at the boundaries, means particle does not exist at the boundaries. Whereas this psi 1 is maximum at a by 2, x is equal to a by 2, means the probability of finding the particle is maximum in the middle of the potential well. Similarly, the variation of probability density, modulus of psi 1 square versus x, is shown in this figure, and here also at x is equal to 0 and at x is equal to a, modulus of psi 1 square is 0, means particle does not exist. Whereas this modulus of psi 1 square is maximum at the center, that is at x is equal to a by 2. Now the energy of the particle in the ground state can be written as E1, which is same as, you can write it as E naught also, that is equal to h square by 8 ma square. So let us go for the second case, that is n is equal to 2, means first excited state. See, in the first excited state, the eigenfunction for the particle is written from equation 9 as psi 2 is equal to root of 2 by a sine of 2 pi by a into x. So in equation 9, in place of n, I have written it 2. See, for the first excited state, n is 2 and this figure represents psi 2 versus x and modulus of psi 2 square versus x. Now in this first figure, the wave function psi 2 is 0 for x is equal to 0, for x is equal to a by 2 and for x is equal to a. Means the particle does not exist for x is equal to 0, a by 2 and at a. Whereas this psi 2 is maximum for x is equal to a by 4 and for x is equal to 3a by 4. Means the probability of finding the particle is maximum for x is equal to a by 4 and for x is equal to 3a by 4. Similarly, the probability density modulus of psi 2 square versus x, you can explain like this. That is, probability density modulus of psi 2 square, this is 0 for x is equal to 0, a by 2 and for x is equal to a. Whereas modulus of psi 2 square is maximum for x is equal to a by 4 and for 3a by 4. Now the energy of the particle in the first excited state, this you can write it as E2 is equal to 4 times the ground state energy E0. Next we move on to the third case, that is n is equal to 3, that is second excited state. See, in the second excited state, the eigenfunction can be written as psi 3 equal to root of 2 by a sine of 3 pi by a into x. Now how to get this equation? In equation 9, you put n is equal to 3. We are getting this psi 3. Now for this second excited state, the graph of wave function psi 3 versus x and probability density modulus of psi 3 square versus x are shown in this diagram. Now here in the second excited state, this psi 3 is 0 for x is equal to 0, for x is equal to a by 3, for x is equal to 2a by 3, and for x is equal to a. Means particle does not exist for x is equal to 0, a by 3, 2a by 3, and x is equal to a. Whereas this psi 3 is maximum for x is equal to a by 6, this is a by 6, for a by 2, here in the middle a by 2, and for 5a by 6, this is 5a by 6. Similarly, the probability density modulus of psi 3 square, this is 0 for x is equal to 0, a by 3, 2a by 3, and a. And this modulus of psi 3 square is maximum, it is maximum for x is equal to a by 6, this is a by 6, for a by 2, here a by 2, and for 5a by 6. Next, energy of the particle in the second excited state, that is E2, can be written as 9 times ground state energy E0. So I can write E2 is equal to 9 E0. So in this diagram, you may think how we got this a by 4 and 3a by 4. See, we know a is the width of the potential well. This is x is equal to 0. And from here it is divided into 4 parts, that is 1, 2, this is third part, and fourth. Therefore, this is x is equal to 0. This point is a by 4. This is 2a by 4. This is 3a by 4. And this is 4a by 4, that is a. Similarly, in this diagram, you may think how we got this a by 3. This is a by 3 and this is 2a by 3. Again, here also the width is a, and from x is equal to 0, it is divided into 6 parts. That is, this is first, this is second part, this is third one, this is fourth part, this is fifth one, and this is sixth. So that is why here if you start x is equal to 0, this will be a by 6 because it is divided into 6 parts. This is 2a by 6, this is 3a by 6, this is 4a by 6, this is 5a by 6, and this is 6a by 6, means it is a.